Hello and welcome back to my blog. So we finished with some serious business with Daniel Boone and the Kentucky Wars. I thought I'd go a few days, maybe a week, with some humor. I ran across this. I'm not going to read the whole thing, but some of it, and it looks kind of humorous. It's called English as She Is Spoke, or A Jest in Sober Earnest, with an introduction by James Millington. We're breaking the intro and the preface into three parts. So part one, beginning of intro. Excruciatingly funny, says the world, is English as she is spoke, or a jest in sober thought. Everyone who loves a laugh, says fun, should either buy, beg, borrow, or, we had almost said steal, this book. For in sober earnest we aver that it is not given to everyone to jest so. From the time of Shakespeare downwards, wits and authors innumerable have made themselves and the public more or less merry at the expense of the earlier efforts of the student of a strange tongue. But it has been reserved to our own time for a soi-disant instructor to perpetrate, at his own expense, the monstrous joke of publishing a guide to conversation in a language of which it is only too evident that every word is utterly strange to him. The Teutonic sage who evolved the ideal portrait of an elephant from his inner consciousness was a commonplace, matter-of-fact person compared with the daring visionary who conjures up a complete system of language from the same fertile but untrustworthy source. The piquancy of Senor Pedro Carolino's new guide of the conversation in Portuguese and English is enhanced by the evident bona fides and careful compilation of the little book, or as Pedro himself gravely expresses it, for the care what we wrote him and for her typographical correction. In short, the new guide of the conversation in Portuguese and English was written with serious intent, and for the purpose of initiating Portuguese students into the mysteries of the English language. The earlier portions of the book are divided into three columns. The first giving the Portuguese, the second what, in the opinion of the author, is the English equivalent, and the third, the English equivalent phonetically spelt, so that the tyro may at the same time master our barbarous phraseology and the pronunciation thereof. In the second part of the work, the learner is supposed to have sufficiently mastered the pronunciation of the English language to be left to his own devices. A little consideration of the shaping of our author's English phrases leads to the conclusion that the materials used have been a Portuguese-French phrase book and a French-English dictionary. With these slight impediments, has the daring Lusitanian ventured upon the unknown deep of a strange language, and the result, to quote again from the preface, may be worth the acceptation of the studious persons, and especially of the youth, at which we dedicate him particularly, but will at all events contribute not a little to the youth's hilarity. To begin with the vocabulary, it is perhaps hardly fair to expect a professor of languages to trouble himself with degrees of kindred. Still, such titles as gossip mistress, a relation, an relation, a guardian, and guardian, the quarter grandfather, the quarter grandmother, requires some slight elucidation, and passing over the catalogue of articles of dress which are denominated objects of man and woman objects, one may take exception to crumbs and groceries, which are inserted among plates and cruets as ordinary table garniture. Among what are denominated eatings, we find some wigs, a dainty dishes, a mutton shoulder, a little mine, hog fat, and an amulet. The menu is scarcely appetizing, especially when among fishes and shellfishes our Portuguese loculus sets down the hedgehog, snail, and wolf. After this, such trifles as starch, arranged under the heading of metals and minerals, and bricks and white lead under that of common stones, fall almost flat. But one would like to be initiated into the mysteries of gleek, carousel, and keel, which are gravely asserted to be games. Among chivalry orders, one has a glimmering of what is intended by Saint Michaelmas and very merit. But under the heading of degrees, although by a slight exercise of the imagination we can picture to ourselves a quartermaster, a general to galleries, or even a vessel captain, we are entirely nonplussed by a harbinger and a parapet. Passing on to familiar phrases, most of which appear to be old friends with new faces, Senor Carolino's literal cribs from the French become more and more apparent in spite of his boast in the preface of being clean of Gallicisms and despoiled phrases. Apply you at the study during that you are young is doubtless an exceptional and excellent precept, and as he remarks further on, how do you can it to deny? But study may be misdirected, and in the moral, no less than in the material world, it is useful to know that are the dishes whom you must be and to abstain, while the meaning of this girl have a beauty edge is scarcely clear unless it relates to the preternatural acuteness of the fair sex in these days of board schools and woman's rights. And we'll continue with the intro tomorrow. I hope we find it amusing. Make it a great day, and bye for now.